5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Mark, how are you doing today? Thanks so much for joining me on the Hot Drinks podcast.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful day in Lander, Wyoming. How's it where you're at?
Awesome. Yeah, it's good. It's a little rainy here actually in Ottawa. We just came off our driest May ever, but so we need the rain.
Okay.
But it's nice for sure. Summer's getting in full swing here.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. Let's hear your favorite hot drink. You've been many nights in the field. Have your favorite hot drink, has that evolved over the years, or has it been a tried and true?
No, it stayed the same since I can remember. My dad drank black coffee, and I drink black coffee.
Wow.
I remember Duck Murphy one time. He was always asking this at the beginning of a briefing. What's your hot drink? And he said anybody that didn't like coffee, he immediately had questions about whether he could trust them or not. So Duck and I always got along just fine.
Well, that makes sense. He didn't say that to me because I worked with him and I didn't drink black coffee. So he might have been questioning me the whole course.
He's pretty adaptable, but coffee tried and true.
Yeah, right on. Wow, still hard. So none of this flavored coffee.
No flavored coffees, no milk, no foam, no froth.
Up. Yeah, easy, low maintenance.
Low maintenance. I used to want to run a coffee shop that was called Just Coffee, and I don't know what the market for that would be, but I thought, what can you get here? Just coffee. That's
it. Nice. And now maybe a tortilla or two.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into your first story. You got it titled "The Love Struck Runaway."
Oh my goodness.
This will be our second runaway story. Let's go with this.
Oh, really? Yeah. The old Love Struck Runaway. So to kind of preface the story, it was a semester course in Baja, 1995. And I was the proctor, so the instructor that stayed with the students the entire time. And I recently just got to spend a couple of days with two of the students from that course.
No way.
Down in the Ozarks of Arkansas and the Kings River. One of them was Shane Matson. And the other one was Luke Ramsey. And Shane showed up for this NOLS course, semester course in Baja. And he didn't have his luggage. Had not shown up with him, and he proceeded to tell me a story that he had, thought a lot about his life before he came on this NOLS semester, and had purged everything that was that he thought was unnecessary in life, and had reduced his worldly possessions to what fit in his backpack, his dog, and his truck. Those were the things, and so he parked his truck and left his dog with his mom. And then he flew to Baja, where his backpack didn't show up. And he said, Mark, I really thought that I had reduced everything down to the bare minimum of what I needed to get by in this world. And what I'm realizing right now is I didn't even need that much.
Wow.
And I heard that from Shane, and I thought, we're going to be good friends. And we have remained good friends. He was the best man in my wedding. Just an incredible friendship started right there. And
that's amazing.
And Luke Ramsey was another person on this, and he also lives in Arkansas, and he came up for this river trip that we did a couple weeks ago. And he is famous for giving me the quote that I still use to this day on almost every NOLS course that I work of, I really like a man that thinks with his laziness. And I've learned that, being efficient and all of that. So those have stuck with me. But then there was another student on this course that they all met the night before we all met the students. And for the, to protect people's identities, we'll just call her Erica.
Sure.
And Erica had shown up, and Shane told me that when she showed up and at the hotel that she was wearing high heels and a dress that was unbecoming of a NOLS expedition. And she had brand new backpacking boots, mountaineering, full on leather, probably weighed about 5 pounds each. And seemed a little out of her element. And so questions began to arise that very first night. And then we met the students, proceeded to go into the field, and our first section was in the lagunas. And Erica made it through the lagunas just fine. She, I think, got lost once going to the bathroom, but who doesn't when you're in the lagunas? It's a really thick, thorny, bushwhacky type of place. And
I'm just going to jump in for those folks who don't know. The Sierra de Lagunas is a mountain range just kind of north of Cabo. It's kind of on that small, well, not small, but bigger spit, the south end of Baja California Peninsula.
Completely different geology. It's a granitic pluton that bubbled up down there. So it's very different than the rest of Baja, and it's below the tropics. So it's in a tropical arid forest is what it's considered, which is just an oxymoron of terms, but it means that it's super thick and super thorny.
Right.
Is the way it is.
Yeah,
And so it's a eye opener, and it was an eye opener for Erica because she had kind of considered this NOLS experience was going to be 3 months in Mexico, maybe on a beach, trying to kind of find herself and figure some things out and get a tan while doing it. Yeah, these stories are not to disparage any of the students that NOLS is not a good fit for. I'm hoping that she has gone on to be very successful in all kinds of different endeavors. Turns out that this NOLS experience was maybe not the thing that she needed at the time, and it certainly turned out to be something different than she was expecting. But she persevered. In the second section, we moved to a sea kayaking section in Magdalena Bay, which is on the Pacific coast, and did some whale watching. Finally got her on a beach, which she seemed to enjoy a little bit, but she wasn't clicking with the entire experience. And so we were having regular meetings as instructors with her to just gauge her overall interest in continuing with the semester. And she was waffling, didn't know if she was wanting to continue or not, but she was still, didn't know how she was going to really go home or what she would say if she went home. And so she was going to stick it out. And so we finished that 2 weeks. And so now she's made it 6 weeks into a semester, and we really didn't know if she would make it through the first week. And so she showed some really good grit during that time. And then we came over to the branch in the Coyote Bay in south of Mulegé there, and we got outfitted for sailing. And I was a proctor. I was not a sailor, but I was going to be on this section. We talked as an instructor team a lot about Erica and whether she was really going to continue with the course or not. But we started off on the sailing section with her, and we sailed across Conception Bay and landed near the point at a popular NOLS campsite kind of area there. And we happened to hit the beach on February 14th. That was the day that we actually landed on the beach. And we were not alone on this beach. There was a Canadian, long blonde-haired Canadian. Never knew his name, but we started calling him Greystoke. He was bronzed. He was very fit. He had managed somehow to drive a VW bus all the way up the other side of the peninsula to get to this general camp spot, and had been parked there. And unbeknownst to us, I think Erica saw him and immediately fell in love. And that was probably about the time that she started scheming her exit from the course, but she didn't tell us any of this. So we set up camp, did all of our normal, first night things with the sailing section, and had dinner. We went to bed. That was that for our, the night of Valentine's Day. We were in bed, and then around about midnight, 12:30 at night, we had a scratch at our tent from one of Erica's tent mates, and they had informed us. It was about 12:30 at night. Informed us that Erica was gone, and we said, "Oh, do we know where she is?" And the student was just like, "I'm not sure. She left this note." And so we're like, great. So we get our headlamps out and we're trying to read this note. And on the first page of this note, it's a 2-page note, is a long, epic poem, very cryptic, about life and love and this and that, and all these different things that was just pretty much impossible to follow if you weren't in that poetic frame of mind in the middle of the night with your headlamp. And so we flipped it over to the other side, and then it got more specific. And the gist of the other side was, I have gone away. I'm going to stay with Greystoke. I want the course to leave without me, and please don't tell my parents. And we thought, wow, none of this is really going to be possible. We're not really sure what to do about this at this particular juncture. And so it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the instructor team starts to have a debate on, okay, how do we go about finding not a lost student, but a hiding student? So the big question was, do we call out and shout and make our presence known, or do we try to be very quiet and very sneaky and crawl around in the desert, at the point of the, Conception Peninsula, trying to find somebody in the middle of the night?
Do you know where his van is parked? Like, do you think he's there in the van? Or?
Well, no. So we did hear from the other student that earlier in the evening, after everyone had gone to bed, that this student and Erica had gone over and knocked on his van to wake him up. And Erica, they talked for a little while, but Erica had asked him basically, hey, if my course leaves me, can I camp with you and, share water and food with you? And I'm sure he was very confused at midnight as well, thinking, sure, if your course leaves, like, I will not let you die. And I think that's what she took as a proclamation of true love.
Had you had any interaction with him, before daylight, before darkness?
No, not during the daylight.
Kind of saw him on the other side of the beach, and that was it?
Yeah, that was it. So at night was the first time that they had talked, when she knocked on his van in the middle of the night. And so I'm sure he was confused as anybody and said, well, sure, yeah, I'll help you if everyone leaves you here. Yeah, I wouldn't, I'm a decent guy. And I'm sure he was a decent guy. And so off she went, who knows where. And so at about 1:30, we finally got the search parties together, and we decided that we would do a hasty grid search through the desert, trying to follow some things. And we had decided that, yeah, probably announcing our presence and all of that was going to be important, because it's just, our NOLS training says if you're looking for somebody lost, you announce your we were confused. So off we go, and we're walking through the desert. We split into several different search parties, some going south, some going north, some going east, some up and down the coast. We had walkie-talkies at this point, for communicating between sailboats a lot. So we were using these to communicate between search parties. And so off we are in the desert, beautiful night, moonlight, sun, or the stars are shining, headlamps on, all of this kind of stuff. And we're out there just saying, Erica, where are you? We just want to talk. You don't have to stay on the course.
So you don't know where his van is?
No, he wasn't. She wasn't at the van.
Okay.
Yeah, she was somewhere in the desert. And we didn't know how far. And roughly at, I think it was 6 or 7 o'clock the next morning. So we searched through the night, probably 5 hours of searching. And finally here, I'm now off on a road, hiking down the road, thinking that maybe she's just trying to hike down the road somewhere. We're looking for footprints, all of these things. And then we hear on the walkie-talkies, we're checking in, turning them on the hour. And I think it was 7 a.m. We finally got the news that Erica had been found. So we were very excited about that, but we still had, probably an hour or more walk back to where we had been. And apparently the student group with one of the instructors that found Erica, they found her in a sea cave as the tide was coming in. So this was a spot that was going to be flooded fairly soon. And they discovered her, and one of the students, his name was Joey, he saw her in the little sea cave hiding, and she looked up at him and he looked down at her. And Joey said, Erica, like, we found you. And from that moment on, she did not speak again for probably the next 10 hours. She was completely silent. And so I remember the story being that Joey was just like, Erica, you're not hiding anymore. We see you. We see you. You're right there. Like, you have to get out now. Like, the game is over. Like, you're done hiding. Like, and so she begrudgingly got out, but again, refused to speak with anybody or anything like that. So when I got back at about 8 a.m, we obviously explained to Erica that, you know, this is something that we just cannot accommodate on a NOLS course, and that, you know, we are going to separate her from the course and that she will be expelled, and we're going to take her back to the branch. And so we had a Panga come over and Panga ride, and I went back with Erica being the non-sailing instructor. The rest of the students were going to continue on, and I was going to kind of wrap things up with Erica. So we got back to the NOLS Mexico branch, and we had no phone service. So we had a friendly family in Mulegé that had a phone, and that's where we made all of our phone calls from. So we got back and we drove into Mulegé to call her parents and let her know what was going on. And so she talked to her dad for a little while on the phone, and then was very upset and just hung up the phone and kind of stormed off. And so I was there with Dave Calgren, who was the branch director at the time. And he was just like, oh, we need to call Dad back and kind of finish this conversation. So we called Dad back while Erica was somewhere in Mulegé. This is now twice that she's run off, but we're like, it's Mulegé. We'll figure this out. We have to talk to her dad. And so we spoke with her dad a little bit. He was a doctor, and he said, you know, I think this and that and all these things that he was thinking. And he's like, you know, I really think she just needs to take a tranquilizer so that all of this kind of calms down. And Dave explained that she was 18 years old and that we cannot force her to take a tranquilizer. But if that is something that she wants, you know, that we would, you know, be happy to suggest that to her. But that was that. And so we hung up and we said, we really need to go. Erica has walked off. Like, we need to go find Erica. So we spent the next hour or so driving around Mulegé looking for the gringa, you know, that was hiking around. And we finally found her. She was walking on the side of the road, and we kind of said, hey, come on, hop in the truck. We explained that her dad had said, hey, this is probably all very stressful. Would you like to go to a pharmacy, get something to just kind of calm the nerves and take the tension, stress off of things? And she was just like, no, I'm not taking a tranquilizer. Dad wants me to. I'm not doing it. You know, it's stupid, blah, blah, blah. We're like, that's fine. You're 18. We are not, we care not if you do this at all. And so Dave asked, is there anything else you need in Mulegé? We're going to go back to the branch. And she said, oh yeah, can you stop right here, as we were driving through town? We're like, sure. So she got out and she walked into this little tienda, you know, store. And we're like, I wonder what she's getting, you know, snacks, something, who knows. And she walked out and she had a handle of tequila, like a big bottle of tequila. 18, she could buy alcohol. And Dave in the truck looked at me and said, well, Mark, that ought to do it for a tranquilizer. He said, I want you to stay up with her tonight and make sure that she drinks enough to sleep well, so that she doesn't run away again tonight. And I thought, this is the branch director. This is my boss telling me to drink with a student until they can't, you know, wake up anymore. And so that evening we sat out on the seawall and just, yeah, drank tequila sunrises, orange juice and tequila. And we talked, and it was a wonderful chat. I asked her, you know, like, what's your vision here? You know? And she said, well, I want to go back out there. And I'm like, well, why? Do you think he really, you know, wants you to be out there? What's your vision? And she said, well, my vision is kind of like Brooke Shields and the Blue Lagoon, that I'll just stay and cook and make the fish, and he'll go out fishing every day and all of this kind of stuff. And I just heard all of this, and I thought, Erica, like, do you really think that this is something that's possible or that could even come true for you? And then she looked at me in her, you know, a little bit drunken haze, and she said, if you don't go after your dreams, how do you know that they won't come true? Point. Cheers, toast, you know. I was just like, okay. And we came to start calling Erica at the end of the day, like she was expelled or separated from this course, not because she was 18, but really because she was excessively 18. That seemed to be the case. She had grand visions, and so it took us another couple of days to finally convince her to go to the airport. She kept trying to find someone to take her on a panga ride. I did, supervise her that night. She slept. She was still sleeping. I got up and went and got coffee. And while I was getting coffee, she ran away a third time and hitchhiked up to one of the local, bars up the way from there, and spent a lot of time. And we finally, got her back, and yeah, within about 2 days after that, she agreed to get on an airplane. She told us that she was not going to go home, that she had met some people at one of these bars, and they had a house in San Diego, and she was going to stay there. And we thought, I don't know if that sounds safe as an 18-year-old, but also you're separated from the course, and we really need to move on from this responsibility of kind of keeping tabs on you because you're flighty. And so we did get her on an airplane. Later, I did hear that Joey, who happened to find her in the sea cave, called her after the course, after they had all graduated, and she had answered the phone. He said, "Oh, is this Erica?" And she said, "Yeah, it's Erica." He said, "It's Joey from the NOLS course." And then there was just a click. So that was the last we ever heard from Erica, the excessively 18-year-old that thought Greystoke was going to be her dream man forevermore.
Did you ever see him? Was he around the next morning?
He was around the next morning, but he was just like, "Sorry, I didn't want to." I mean, he's like, "I just said I would help. I didn't try to, and we're like, "Oh yeah, no, this is not on you." And he's like, "Can I help?" And they're like, "No, you're right. Fine. Just leave. Enjoy your vacation, man. Sorry about this."
Oh man, wow, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
They got some of the students that show up. You never know what they're into and what their expectations are.
Yeah.
Most are great, but every now and then you get a doozy.
Good for some good stories.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. So this next one, maybe I can relate to a little bit. The students who first informed you about your hair loss.
Yeah. So the very next year, 1996, I was leading a trip on the Rio Grande. And one of the students on that trip happened to be Luke Ramsey's sister, named Lisa. So I had two siblings 2 years in a row that ended up on NOLS courses. And in addition to Lisa Ramsey being on this Rio Grande course, there were a couple of other students. We'll call them Mark and Jesse, and they seemed a little bit odd from the very get-go. This was a time when we ran the Rio Grande, and you would get on a train in Tucson and take the train all the way to Texas, and then you would get transported for their next section in New Mexico somewhere. But there was this train ride involved, and so pretty remote. This was pre-NOLS satellite phones. We had ground-to-air radios, but there's not any real air traffic that goes over the Rio Grande. It's not on a flight path, and so the ground-to-air radios don't really work much there. So in a lot of ways, it felt like one of the more remote sections that NOLS ever goes and operates. And we were very much on our own. And we were doing a gear check with Mark and Jesse, and they had wanted to bring a couple of canes with them, like walking canes, staffs on the Rio Grande. We're like, well, there's no real need for it. And they're like, well, what about snakes? We need to have something to get snakes. And we're just like, no, really, you don't need the walking canes. What we realized a little bit later during gear check is that these canes that they had were actually hidden swords. They had actual bladed weapons that they were wanting to bring, like 3-foot bladed weapons that they wanted to bring on the NOLS course. And we were just like, that's weird. This needs to stay in your luggage. And so we get in the field, and almost immediately things seem to start going south with Mark and Jesse, and they're displaying a lot of just very aggressive, quasi-violent behavior towards other students. And then probably 4 or 5 days into the course, we found out that one of these students had actually pre-NOLS, like at the hotel, had crawled into bed with one of the female students and had groped her and made her very uncomfortable with all of that. And that kind of unwanted attention was continuing in the field. But there's no real evacuation points on the lower canyons of the Rio Grande. So we were kind of dealing with this, but doing a lot of documentation. We did a lot of documentation. We put them on behavioral contracts. We used all the tools that were in our toolbox at this time in '96, but kept having problems. They just weren't abiding by the contracts. They didn't really seem to care about the contracts, and just creating, verbal arguments and fights with people, physical shoving matches with other students that were de-escalating. They were trying not to escalate things as much as they could. Other female students were explaining they had some issues that were going on. So again, it's just daily meetings with these students, trying to get them to get on board with this, and it's just not working. At one point, towards the end, the students had all come together and told us that each of them had written a 1 to 2 page letter to the NOLS administration explaining that if Mark and Jesse did not leave the course, that they were all going to leave the course. They were just like, we're not here for this type of an experience, saying things that they'd either been, brought to tears, had felt physically unsafe, had felt like they were prepared to take the first punch or to break up a physical fight if one broke out with these students. I mean, and they had all this plus our documentation. But again, no way to call the branch, no way to explain, we couldn't tell them that they were going to be expelled because instructors don't have the authority to expel a student. This is an administrator's decision to expel a student. And so we assumed it was going to go this way, but we had no way to give them all a heads up about what was going on with these two. And so we finally did get to the takeout. The night before we were at the takeout, I remember waking up and the proctor was sleeping out on the beach. Pete Myers was the proctor, and he was sleeping out on the beach. And I woke up and I saw what I thought was Jesse standing over him. And I thought, he's gonna hit him with a rock, like he's gonna drop a rock on. And so I was almost about to run out of my sleeping bag when I realized that it was just Pete standing up to take a pee. But my brain was in such a spot that as a CL, my first thought was Pete is about to be assaulted by this student, because we were, we had done evaluations and we had kind of told these students that, that they had not passed their section. And so
they were on edge for a long time at this point.
Yeah, they were really, really upset about the grade that they had received, not knowing that we had also made plans to, try to have them expelled from the course. So we get back, we're finally within phone, range of not cell phones, but pay phones. And we're able to call the branch and just say, hey, this is what's going on. We need support. Well, the branch had already sent drivers to the next location for pickup. And they were just like, oh gosh, we'll figure this out as we can. And at that time, the branch director, who happens to be our new NOLS president, Terry Watson, at the time, I said, we have 34 pages of documentation, including the 12 letters from the students explaining everything from their perspective and why they're going to leave if they're not expelled. And Terry was a fairly new branch director at that time. And I remember her saying, could you get some more documentation? And I thought, I don't know. 34 pages seems like a lot. And I think any one of these would be enough to say these students are not the right fit for NOLS. But knowing that she was going to have a parent conversation, she was wanting to get as much documentation as possible. And I said, I will try, but I really feel like this is more than enough documentation for what's going on here. So we drive to the place where we're going to meet the drivers. We get shuttled to there. We meet with the other drivers that are there, and we're explaining what's going on, and that what we think we need to do is actually call the police, because we're pretty sure once we tell them that they're going to be expelled, that we don't know what's going to happen, and we just wanted a police presence in the campground when we shared this news with the students. So while we were discussing all of this, all the students had access to their luggage. So now we know that Mark and Jesse have their swords, and we had also learned that they had throwing stars and other blades in their luggage. And so now we're realizing that they have now had access to all of these blades. We don't know what their intent is. So we have police that are coming. We pull them aside. We explain that they're going to be expelled.
Have they been threatening on the course, like threatening to you guys and threatening to other students, or just?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Physical aggression, verbal aggression. Yeah.
We're gonna hurt you type stuff.
Yeah, that's what they talked about a lot. That was just kind of their MO. And like I said, they got to the point where they were shoving other students, but they never actually closed fist hit anyone. But everyone was in that frame of mind, thinking this is hard to deal with. And so we explained that they were going to be expelled, and then they just bolted. They just ran and raged and ranted and all of this. And then we were kind of looking for them. The police were walking around looking for them. And then off in the distance, I hear, "Where is that bald-headed mother effing, homophobic slur, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, oh, he's looking for me. This was the first time that I was like, oh, I've never had that adjective used on me before. Not the mother effer, but the bald-headed, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting.
Oh, man.
And so we eventually wrangle them all together. They realize that there's no getting out of this. The police eventually leave. We separate their luggage. We ask if they had taken any of their blades out of their luggage. They told us no. We weren't exactly sure. Terry had come with us, and so we were driving back. And it was about nighttime while we were driving, and I was driving. Terry was in the passenger seat. Mark and Jesse were in the back. Deb Sussex was sitting in between them to keep them separated. And we're driving, and Jesse is still just really, really angry, just verbally abusive towards Terry. Just going off and on and on. And then he actually spit in the back of her hair. While he was sitting in the back passenger seat. And Terry, who comes from a military background, just looked at me and she said, "Mark, I've been through basic training. I have had drill sergeants dress me down, berate me," he said, and she said, I've never experienced verbal abuse like this. And she said, "So plain and simple, if this continues, we'll just pull over at the next precinct and we'll drop them off at the local jail." And that was the point where they finally shut up. They finally stopped being so aggressive. And at that point I thought, oh, here's my window to maybe, kind of lighten the mood a little bit. And I said, so Jesse, back at the camp, you kind of said, "Where is that bald-headed guy?" I'm like, "Do you really think I'm going bald?" And I could see him in the rearview mirror, and he said, "Yeah, things happen to people for a reason, man." And I thought, yep, you're right. I'm kicking you off a NOLS course, and I'm losing my hair. That's the price that I'm paying for kicking you off a NOLS course. So yeah, he was the one that first informed me of that. And then we did get him back. We got him separated from the course and expelled. And then a few days later, after they had gotten home, the last that we ever heard about Jesse anyway, was that his father called Terry at the branch and had explained that Jesse had stolen a TV and a vehicle and a wad of cash. And the last thing he had said was that he was driving back out to Arizona to teach those NOLS folks a lesson. And so his dad said, I've put out a police search and a report on him. Just wanted to give you the heads up that as he stormed out and stole the car, that he said he was going back out to Arizona. As far as we know, he never made it to Arizona. We never heard anything after that. Later, we found out that both Mark and Jesse had been expelled from their college for much of the same type of behavior. And this was the beginning of the NOLS policy of you have to have a letter of good standing from your university in order to get on a NOLS course. The fact that they would not have gotten a letter of good standing, and they were two friends that were pretty adamant about remaining together on a NOLS course, that changed within the admissions world after the Mark and Jesse experience.
Wow.
That we had. So
you must have been completely exhausted after that.
Oh, it was, like I said, we had no way to call. We had no way to give any heads up. We could just document, and we had to baby step it because we didn't want to escalate the situation in the field with threats of expulsion and things like that. And we didn't have the resources. A lot of programs that deal with students that are that aggressive have a lot more resources and are not in that type of a remote environment. So it was quite a handful for us to handle.
I'll tell the story someday, but I had a very, very similar student, just one student like those guys on a course in Baja. And of all the courses and the epics and that I've had, like the behavioral challenge student was probably the most exhausting, more than broken legs, more than broken bones, more than systemic infections in the Arctic. It was like this behavior, because it's not cut and dry, it's like, where's the documentation? And just letters and letters and notes and notes and notes. And then you're still never sure they're going to be, fully expelled because administration, like you say, have to manage that. But it's like, if they, it's at times when I've had that student, I'm like, I wish you would hit somebody, because then it is cut and dry, but they find some way to just drag it on and just mentally abuse everybody on the course. And I was never more exhausted. Yeah.
And like I said, NOLS is great for a lot of people, and maybe for all of these students, NOLS ended up being something that they did gain something from. But I wish them nothing but success. They have given me some good fodder for stories over the year. Of no kidding, there I was, and so I appreciate them for that, if nothing else. And hope they're doing well in their life endeavors at this point.
And I know admissions has a hard time, vetting all the students, but similar to this student, we found out so much more information once we got him back to the base and the branch and talked to the parents, and we were like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now. It would have been helpful to know some of this backstory.
But when it's hidden and when it's not wanting, when people don't want to disclose that kind of stuff, you can hide stories, but at the end of the day, you can't hide, true behavior and attitude and intent.
And NOLS isn't going to fix anybody. We can support and encourage and educate and teach and practice leadership, but we're not fixing anybody. And that's what some people expect. I think, this particular student that I had, we found out later on that this was like his last chance, because he'd been expelled from all these other places, and we're like, how did we not know this? But obviously they're not gonna put that stuff on the application if they think they're not gonna get accepted.
Right.
All right. Let's finish off with the IC mutiny. Wow. I'm intrigued to hear this one.
Goodness. Well, so this was an alternative instructor's course that happened out of the Teton Valley on the Owyhee River. And it was an odd setup in that they were going to combine this alternative instructor's course that had 5 experienced students from Outward Bound, 4 of which were from Canada. And
students or instructor?
Students. Well, the students on the IC
that are trying to become instructors.
Outward Bound instructors.
Outward Bound instructors, yeah. Okay.
That's right. And 1 from Voyager Outward Bound. And then I was the only instructor for the IC, which again, NOLS doesn't really do this anymore, this solo instructor thing.
Or alternative IC.
Well, I think they're doing a lot with alternative instructor. I mean, I think they're coming up with new pathways for instructors to find their way into employment at the school. But in this situation, it was like, it wasn't going to be a full month. It wasn't, and the beginning of it, we were going to combine forces with the Oahe training seminar that was being run at the same time.
Right, the instructor training seminar.
Yeah,
I've done that one.
This is on the East Fork of the Oahe, and then the plan was East Fork of the Oahe with the training seminar, and then the IC would continue with just the 3 boats through the middle section of the Oahe, and then the lower Oahe after that. The middle Oahe is a class 5 stretch, definitely kind of up the game, but we were like, oh, we have Canadian outward bound folks, they must know how to canoe. And we have, the guy from Voyageur. It's like, okay, yeah, this seems like a good idea. So we do our get to know you stuff all through the seminar time and spend the first week or so on that stretch. Things felt fine, and it was a little bit weird, just the social dynamic of trying to run an IC at the same time that you're also on a seminar, and seminars are a little looser, a little laxer than NOLS courses are. And so there was a lot of, are we balancing this well enough? And I think it was Pipco and Roger Eam were the 2 other instructors that were on the seminar, and then myself with the IC. And we parted way with them. We made it through all of the portaging and the crazy, rapids that the Oahe always seems to throw at you. And we continued on down the middle. And a couple days into the middle, the weather changed shortly after we got off the East Fork and folks drove out. And so we just started having lots of rain, some pretty serious weather conditions, and then some pretty serious rapids. There was stuff that there were some must-make moves above some stuff that was just not open boatable with our expedition loaded boats, no spray decks, and I think people were a little in over their head. I think the, outward bound canoe curriculum was not quite, we're lining and navigating and making must-make moves above class 5 rapids, and and so we're doing a lot of this, and I think some students were feeling it for sure. And then the weather, raining, it's cold, and so I remember at mid-course, we always do these mid-course check-ins, and so we were at mid-course. It was the night we were supposed to do check-ins. We hadn't gotten into camp until after dark. It was pouring down rain. We had this little tarp set up. We were all sitting in amongst these boulders trying to eat some food, pouring rain, headlamps on. People are tired from a stressful long day on the river. And I just looked at everybody and I said, hey, here's the deal. We are on a real expedition. This is exploratory. NOLS has never done the middle before. We're all in this together. And we are functioning really well. We're making good decisions. We are, keeping people safe. We're leveling up our competencies when we need to. I said, everyone, you're doing great. I'm not going to talk any more about this. We need rest. We need to eat. We have more of this to deal with tomorrow. This is the thing. Unbeknownst to me, one of the Canadian outward bound folks, I think, really needed more emotional support and more of an evaluation check-in at mid-course. I think the classic difference of NOLS instructors, like, hey, if we know your name at the end of the course, it's been a good one. Outward bound instructors, everyone's got to cry together for it to be a good course. That was the joke that we used to make back in this day. And I think I must have not been there in the way that this student needed me to be there. And so I think at that point, they probably started checking out a little bit more. But also along this section, one of the students started to have some chronic tendonitis flare up in their elbow, and became very worried because they thought, if this does not go away, I have a full summer of NOLS work or not NOLS work, outward bound work to do, and I can't be injured for all of this. And so started talking about maybe doing an evacuation on this particular student in the 425 miles of the Oahe. It only gets crossed by a road once in Rome, Oregon. And that's where we were going to come out of the middle before we did the lower canyons of the Oahe. And we got there and made the phone call that this student was wanting to be evacuated due to this chronic tendonitis. This student was also the boyfriend of the student that I had offended by not actually checking in with as meaningfully as I probably should have. And then they decided that maybe they wanted to go too, which then led to the other people saying, well, why do any of us have to continue with this instructor's course? We think NOLS has seen enough. We want to be done with this course. And I was just like, well, that's not how an instructor's course works. Like, y'all haven't taught classes, because we didn't teach any classes on the middle because it was full expedition mode. But I'm like, we haven't seen anybody teach. We haven't seen anybody do all these things that NOLS likes to see potential employees do before we give them a contract. I'm like, that's not really possible. And they're just like, well, why do you get to say what we have to do, what we can't do? And I was just like, well, because I'm the instructor. And they're just like, well, you don't have any real authority over us, And I was like, well, no. And I'm like, I can call and ask the branch. And I called the branch, and the branch was a little upset with me. They're just like, this is your course, Mark, get it under control. What do you mean everybody wants to quit? And I'm like, they all want to quit. I mean, it's a beautiful canyon downstream of here, but they all want to quit. And they were just like, look, we can send a driver to pick the one student up, but we can't get the whole course back and all the canoes. We don't have the resources to do it, nor do we have anywhere to house them here. We have other courses in town, and we don't have any other permits on rivers where we could go do clinics. Like, no, you have to continue. And I said, okay, don't be mad at me. I'm out here by myself and everybody wants to quit. I need somebody to have my back because I don't have a team member. And I said, if you're telling me that we have to go, then I can tell them that the branch says we have to go. So I went back and told them that, hey, the branch says we have to go. They don't have the resources, the drivers, we can't get the boats, like, we are continuing downstream. At which time, two of these students then, for the last 7 days of the course, one, refused to teach any classes, and two, did not talk to me. Not even a good morning, 7 days, not a word. Just stonewalled me the entire time. Like, nope, we're not interacting with you. We're not talking to you. We're not teaching for NOLS. NOLS is forcing us to go down this river. We will go down this river. We are not dealing with the NOLS instructor or staff or anything. That's it. And towards the end, I'm like, I still have to write evaluations about people, and I'm trying to write evaluations on, like, well, they didn't teach, they didn't do this, like, I don't think these people are ready for hire. Right.
Or want to at this point.
No. And one of the students finally did start talking to me and said, Mark, this is not all on you. We've all been working together for the entire winter. We have some of our own squabbles. There was stress that we were dealing with from a hard winter. And then this was just something that took it up a notch in too many levels, and it really shut some people down. And she's just like, it's not you. And I'm sorry that, you've been, ignored and,
Wow.
And so, so we got back and people were not ready for hire. I think some of these were friends of Brendan Madden's. And I think they called him afterwards and they were just like, Brendan, we don't know what we were thinking. We don't know why we thought NOLS would want to hire us after everything that we put that instructor through. And so I think it hopefully became a little bit of a joke. But they just up and quit on me.
Wow.
2/3 of the way through their IC. And then wondered, maybe NOLS wasn't the organization, or it wasn't the right time for them to come into NOLS as an organization.
Can't imagine working a course by yourself like that in an instructor course, all the more like, the pressure and it gets ratcheted way up on an instructor course than a regular course. Wow.
Yeah.
It's probably a reason they don't do those solo anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. And did any of those 5, was it 5 you started with?
Yep. 5 started with.
Did any of them work?
Actually, the one from Voyager Outbound, checked him off to work. He taught a class. He was my boat partner. He would talk to me. And then one other, and he did not teach a class. He didn't really want to talk to me. He was really upset. He was also really probably the most competent of all the paddlers. And I just had a feeling that I knew that he could work canoe courses and do probably pretty well. And so I checked him off. I think he did work a course or two, probably did fine. It was not a long-term relationship with NOLS. But against some of my better, ego judgment, I was just like, I think you can actually do this, even though you refuse to prove it to me.
Nice.
But I'm going to go ahead and give you this, just to ease some of the tension across the board a little bit.
Since the others never ended up working.
Well, the one from Voyager Outbound did
that
work,
one did, but the other Canadians
for a while, and that became a thorn in my side because I worked his first course, and then he ended up on a performance contract and had to do a lot of stuff to continue working at NOLS. He had a handful of pretty serious misjudgments on the Hess River with Brian Murphy, Duck Murphy, and I. And so that became the debriefing that lasted, I think, for about 6 months. I was still getting phone calls from Brendan to be like, we need to revisit this and find out, what we can do here. But there were some serious misjudgments.
That's too bad.
That did not foresee, we couldn't see coming. But it was like, wow, that crew was not the best fit. Turns out. For NOLS.
Well. It wasn't obviously you because they don't do that anymore. But wow, what a learning goes through that as well.
Yeah,
this is man. You've had a lot of behavioral challenges on your courses. Like these behaviors
honestly,
are hard.
I've been an NOLS instructor for over 30 years, and I just told 3 stories of some crazy behavioral experiences that I've had. So once a decade is hardly.
I take that back.
Hardly a blight on my overall perception and experience of NOLS and being
absolutely it's 98% of your courses have been great, and these are the few, but back-to-back behaviorals, they're challenging for sure, and I could appreciate just the mental drainage that they cause. It's hard on you. Wow.
Yeah, I like to say that I don't have gray hair, but it's maybe because I lost all the gray ones.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe the swords and the ninja stars definitely. Maybe I was going to ask you, the start of that course, you probably had a full head with those 2 guys.
Right. Yeah. I did until we started talking about failing these students, and then karma's got to get me somehow.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Before we let you go, let's jump into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready? Yeah. We're just going to do a bunch of quick questions and just come up with your first answers that come to mind. Where's your favorite location to lead trips?
Oh, the Yukon was always my favorite, and I'm so sad that it has gone by the wayside.
Yeah. Well, there's always hope. Maybe someday it'll come back, but it's a great spot. Favorite piece of gear?
Oh my goodness. My recent favorite piece of gear is a blue tarp from Ace Hardware. I use it for everything. It's a great seat on the ground. You can fold it out. You can share it. You can lay down on it. You can prop your elbow up. It's the piece of gear that I don't go out without anymore, as long as I'm in a boat.
How big is this one? Is this like a personal size, or is this like the massive?
Oh yeah, no, like a 6x10 seems to be big enough. 8x10. Fold it up, comes in handy. Love the blue tarp.
Right on. All right. I've gotten into the tarp as well, but that's more for car camping with the kids. And I've just got a massive one that we like just all hang out under when it rains.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Best backcountry costume that you've seen or that you've had yourself?
Oh, goodness. Best backcountry costume. Oh, I think on a Lador trip, somebody brought a full gorilla suit, which ended up being pretty darn fun at night. When it
was it hidden at the start of the trip?
Yeah, it was hidden at the start, and so yeah, it was just a big gorilla costume, and I don't know why, but it was big. It's a lot to pack. It was a lot to pack. The dry bags, can swallow up a lot of things.
Wow, that's funny, girl. I haven't heard that one before. All right, what do you like most about working in outdoor education?
The thing that I like most is getting people out there. It's like these outdoor skills, a lot of the stuff that we teach, it's all so that we can access these really remote wilderness places. And I am convinced that is what does the teaching on any outdoor experience. It is the place and the people you're with. The instructors are mere facilitators at best. And no matter how good of a class I teach, no matter how much I think my presentation or whatever is out of the park, it's not memorable compared to the places that we go. And so being able to take people out there and give them some of the tools to hopefully go back, that's the most gratifying thing that I get out of being there, and just seeing people, the peace that I feel like people experience oftentimes out there is worth gold. I just want to give that away as much as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Like that. All right. Last one. If you could go back to any one location that you've been before and share a hot drink with somebody, where would it be and why?
So I need to get back to the Arctic. That's my home turf. That's where I feel the most magic, I think. And one friend of mine that I have not been in the Arctic with, that I would love to sit down and have hot drinks with, that has spent a lot of time up there as well as Mo Wishard. I would love to get on an Arctic river with that guy and sit around and drink some hot drinks. But yeah, somewhere north of the Arctic Circle, looking out across the tundra as far or farther than you can even imagine and think. Yeah. And drinking some hot drinks with Mo, I think would be a really good time.
Nice. Wow. This has been a real treat. It's been awesome. I really appreciate you sharing your stories. I know it takes a bit of energy to muster up these stories that can be traumatizing, and the baby managed to sleep through, so even better. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you doing all the work that you're doing for these podcasts. It seems like a lot of fun. It's nice to see so many familiar faces.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, I won't keep you any longer. You have a great rest of your day, and I'll let you know when this comes up in a couple of weeks.
No worries. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye, Sean.
All right.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.